Welcome to New Stripe City, a YouTube channel for diehard Bengals fans. I'm your host, Ace Boogie, and today I will be recapping the Giants versus Bengals preseason Week 3 game. So starting things out, the good. There were several players that looked good. Rodney Anderson, to me, was probably the player of this game. Obviously, the 6th-round pick that was injured 3 times during his college career, had some great catches, very explosive, made guys miss. He looks like a threat to actually get snaps in the season. So the Bengals running back room is extremely deep, probably the deepest on the roster. Other guys that stood out, C.J. Uzomah made a nice touchdown catch, had several nice grabs, that screen pass to start the game. So C.J. Uzomah looked good in this game as well. Lawson made his debut. I kind of talked before the game about whether or not he was going to play, and man, he was super explosive, showed no signs of the knee injury slowing him down. He looks like a force to be reckoned with. He was on fire the entire night, very explosive, looked very good against Nate Solder, who's a quality tackle, was just destroying that guy the entire night. Auden Tate got the start, along with Damion Willis, who I'll get into very shortly. Auden Tate was injured, but he was okay. It was a knee injury, but he walked off the field under his own power at halftime. They just wanted to save him. Auden Tate had a nice grab on that first drive, or one of the first drives initially. Damion Willis, I'd probably say he's the second guy that had the biggest game. Proved that he was there to stay, made a catch on Janoris Jenkins, caught his first touchdown, just made several nice grabs. I think that will solidify his roster spot. So the fact that he got a start over someone like Josh Malone was big. Josh Malone also had a good game as well. So a lot of guys with good games. We got to see quarterback Jake Doelgala as the third quarterback. He was able to come in and throw for 2 touchdowns, had a quarterback rating, I think, over 120. So he looked good as well. Definitely has that NFL arm. When you're looking outside of that, other guys that had some pretty good games, William Jackson III, outside of giving up a freakish catch, to me, he looked good. He was in on stopping a lot of plays. You talk about Ryan Glasgow, a guy who looked very stout in the run game. Was able to stop a lot of guys. He's coming off of an injury. He looked good. Andy Dalton looked good. He rebounded after a shaky game last week. He also had a QB rating over 120. Kerry Wynn, the reserve defensive lineman, this was going against his old team. He looked really good. Guys that I think didn't look good and were pretty bad this game, Malik Jefferson. He didn't do anything to stand out. Jermaine Pratt, he kind of had a little bit of a meh game. He didn't stick out as well. He also seemingly kind of blew a coverage on a punt return, I believe it was. So those guys needed to show me more there. Outside of that, there was a cornerback, Tony McRae. He looked horrible. He should not make this roster. But things that stood out to me, positives, no penalties. I think that was huge. I mean, especially coming off of a game last week that was riddled with a lot of penalties, a lot of flags early, a very sloppy game. To see the difference between these two games compared to the Redskins game, it was like night and day. So Zach Taylor, that's one thing that stood out to me was the fact that Zach Taylor is making sure to pay attention to detail to fix mistakes. Now, I don't know if that's a combination of the refs just lighting up, but it was very impressive to me that the offensive line had no penalties. I think we went almost the entire first half without penalties, which was great for me. That showed discipline. That showed Zach Taylor being able to be a leader. Also, they showed clips of Zach Taylor being a vocal leader in the locker room, and he hasn't been. That's not the representation that he has, or that's not the rep that he has. He's not really a vocal guy, but he's been vocal in the locker room with these guys, which I think that's something that Marvin Lewis would do from time to time, but it seems like he's constantly doing that. He's taking that leadership role as the head coach to get guys ready. Outside of that, the only bad things that I kind of saw, There still was, a lack of guarding the NFL tight end. I don't know what that is. It seems like that's just going to be their Achilles heel. I thought that the defense looked very good. That was another takeaway from the game. Offensive line without Cordy Glenn struggled at times, but overall looked solid. I think Michael Jordan was pretty solid. I also think that the fact that Zach Taylor is willing to mix in these young guys and give them a chance. You talk about a Damion Willis. You talk about a Michael Jordan being afforded the opportunity to start and get significant playing time, I think is very, very impressive to me. That's one of the things that I liked as well. And I think one thing that I also noticed is this 2019 draft class. Outside of obviously the injury to Jonah Williams, that's been bad. But when you look at this entire preseason through 3 games, each of those players have made an impact, whether it's Ryan Finley. You start with the quarterback who's played very solid this preseason. You even look at Drew Sample, had a touchdown last game, has struggled somewhat with blocking and has shown flashes blocking as well. So he's been solid. You look at Jermaine Pratt. He's been solid through some of the games. Trevion Williams, before he was hurt, he was solid. Rodney Anderson, he's been solid. Michael Jordan getting snaps on that starting offensive line. This draft class may have more impact than we initially believed. And you also, if you're going to count a guy like Damion Willis, these are guys that have been coming in and making an impact. And it's interesting to see that this impact has been felt so early. So overall, I really enjoyed this game. I think that we played well against the New York Giants, especially against Eli and against Daniel Jones. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. And as usual, I will leave you guys with a who day, all day, every day, and especially on Sunday.